Three of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's top allies were just fired. They were escorted out of the building, one after another in just 3 days. And the official line that we got is that they were leaking to the press. And Pete Hegseth even went on Fox News to back that up. But Chris Bedford, you wrote about this. You said something doesn't add up here. So what's really going on behind the scenes?
So I started out right. Yesterday was a rush, a chaotic day. You guys were here in D.C. We were running about. We were going down to have dinner with Glenn. We were meeting. We had tons of meetings all over town, and I didn't have a ton of time to really focus in. But I'm looking at this Pentagon story, and these guys, Dan Caldwell in particular, he is a longtime skeptic of the war in Iran. He's a war with Iran. He's a former Marine. Former Marine. He is someone who is known personally and has been worked with closely by some of my very good friends. I'm not very good friends with Dan, but a lot of guys who I know him. And across the board, I was hearing people say, he's not a leaker. He's not a leaker. This is ridiculous. What's going on? So I started to dig in. And the reason I brought up the amount of time I had is because I got some cool interviews last night, learned some new things, and I'm going to hopefully be able to report those out. The number one thing that popped out to me is that something's rotten in Denmark. Something is not adding up. Now, all of this stuff could be true, but none of the stories that are coming out seem to make the most sense. So these three guys are fired. They are a long time. They worked with Pete Hegseth at Concerned Veterans for America. They have been loyal to him. They helped push him across the finish line to become the secretary. And now you've got all of them kicked out. So they said they're called leakers. Maybe they did leak. Caldwell actually was once named as a potential suspect in leaks over Project 2025, my reporting uncovered. But none of their cell phones were confiscated. Their personal communication devices weren't confiscated. They weren't placed under arrest. They were given access to these secret files until the moment that they were escorted out the door. And Hegseth went on to say, well, some of them may be exonerated. Well, you didn't suspend them. You fired them. So I'm thinking there's something weird here. Is it a turf war with Hegseth's chief of staff, who's known for being a brash man, known for being using foul language and upsetting people sometimes in the Pentagon? Was their closest a problem? But then Casper is out today. He's going to be leaving as well. So that doesn't really make sense either. And then I'm looking at, was it the deep state? Which is obviously the first thing I thought when you take out an Iran dub.
Yes,
it's got to be deep
of course.
State. But everyone I talked to is like, no, the deep state finishes its investigations. It works against you, but these are weeks, months, and years in the process to take you down. It doesn't just fire you before an investigation is done. So we are no closer to figuring out now 4 top firings, and this is starting to make the Pentagon look very shaky. So Pete Hegseth better start coming up with some answers.
So when I'm listening to you talk, when I've been reading this story and just following it, as closely as we can, I feel like this isn't something that we thought we would see from the Trump administration, right? We're saying everything is different. Things aren't going to be the same. But if you go through and we see Pete Hegseth, he's actually pushing the story as well. To me, this, like you're saying, it doesn't add up that this is going to be the thing that is part of Trump 2.0 in his administration.
Yeah, so there's some things about Secretary Hegseth. His main thing is the warrior ethos. That's why he's been out there. He's been pushing that. He doesn't want to get distracted. And he's hired some really good people to do that. I like Caldwell. I liked a couple of these guys. And I like a lot of the people who've stayed on. A lot of good stuff. And he's working on some cool projects, hopefully with the Blaze involved soon. But the Department of Defense is the biggest organization on the planet ever. I mean, it's bigger than the Catholic Church. This sort of thing has so much to manage, so much to run, so much to do, so many different systems. It's extremely complex. And having being a veteran and having been someone who served with admirably, someone who's led a nonprofit, someone who has been a television host, doesn't always prepare you for running this thing. It's like maybe running Ford Motor Company is probably a more helpful thing to start with Robert McNamara. So it's a dangerous spot for him to be in, and I hope he is able to right this ship and get through it. Another thing about Hegseth is he's kind of hawkish. He's extremely hawkish. I mean, all these fake stories came out during his confirmation about how he mismanaged CVA. That's not true. I know the people who worked with him. I know the people who supervised him. That was never true. But he did part ways because he had a much more hawkish foreign policy than their benefactor, Charles Koch, which means that's been some of the issue. Maybe this is ideological and it's not from the deep state, but it's from the secretary. And I think over the next couple of weeks, and I got some interviews lined up, we're going to start getting closer to figuring out what exactly is beneath the surface?
Well, we're about 2 minutes away from a very big interview. Donald Trump and our own Glenn Beck are going to be up next live on BlazeTV. So, Chris, you were there in the room. So in the 2 minutes that we have left, give people a little preview of what they can expect.
Oh, it was excellent. Glenn went right in there. Before the camera started rolling, he got to check out the way that Donald Trump has remodeled the Oval Office. And I'll tell you what, I'll say one word: gold. A lot of gold.
There's always gold.
So
we
weird.
Always know that's Trump's thing.
One of my favorite skits back in the day was, which one is it? Is it Saddam Hussein's palace or Donald Trump's hotel? But Glenn had some really good conversation with him. These are people. Glenn's not a cheerleader. He's not someone who just says, I'm going to back the president. I'm just going to be a partisan. He had some questions. He's someone who wants to be brought aboard on certain things like tariffs. And this interview that's coming up, I'm really excited to see it again, is going to touch across the broad range of the first 100 days of President Trump in office, which is coming up this Wednesday. Some of the things that they've accomplished and some of the things that are coming ahead.
What do you see out of President Trump's demeanor? The fact that we're now about 100 days in, what do you see from him?
He was so relaxed. He was so calm. When he came in and said 100 days, he goes, oh, when is that? Time flies, I guess. I go, that's Wednesday, sir. It's like, I feel like we've done a lot then. And that's when Glenn wanted to jump into AI and jump into all these different things. And I know he's only got a year, but he seems like he feels like he's got all the time in the world, it seems. Well, don't worry, Congress. As he says, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that one thing at a time.
It's a very relaxed Donald Trump. It's a very different Donald Trump this time around. And I absolutely love it because earlier today, you could see him go through and they have the two big, very, very large American flags that are now going to be flown outside the White House.
Oh.
Donald Trump says, oh, no, I'm going to pay for that off of my own dime. This isn't even going to be taxpayer money. But America is back. Nationalism is back. America being cool is back once again.
Yeah, and he was touring that earlier in that day, and I tell you, the feeling amongst even the career staff and the security in that building, people were excited.